My name is Claire Bennett. I'm 34 years old, and the last Mother's Day I spent with my family began with the sound of my own front door refusing to open. At first, I thought the lock had jammed. I tried my key again, then again, until I noticed fresh scratches around the deadbolt and a folded envelope taped neatly to the frame. Inside was a single handwritten sentence in my mother's perfect cursive. Take today to think about what you've done. There wasn't a signature because she knew I would recognize her handwriting anywhere. My overnight bag was still inside. My laptop, my wallet, even the necklace my late grandmother gave me were sitting in that house while I stood barefoot on the porch wearing yesterday's jeans. I called my younger brother. Straight to voicemail. I called my mom. Declined. My sister Emily texted exactly 5 words. Don't ruin Mother's Day again. I stared at that message for a long time because I honestly didn't know what I had supposedly ruined. The day before, I'd spent 6 hours helping my mother decorate the backyard for her annual family brunch. I'd bought flowers, assembled tables, baked her favorite blueberry pie, and even canceled a weekend trip to Charleston because she said, "This Mother's Day needs everyone together, so why was I the only one standing outside like a stranger?" Around noon, my phone buzzed with an Instagram notification. Emily had uploaded a family photo. Everyone was smiling around the dining table I had decorated with my own hands. My mother's arm rested proudly around my sister while my empty chair had already disappeared. The caption read, "Our happiest day." Hundreds of people had already liked it. Some even commented about what a perfect family we looked like. I didn't cry. I didn't leave another voicemail. I simply zoomed into the photo until I noticed something sitting quietly beside my mother's coffee mug. Something they clearly believed I would never see. And in that moment, I realized being locked out wasn't the real plan. It was only the beginning. I kept staring at the corner of that photo until my heartbeat slowed enough to trust my own eyes. Next to my mother's coffee mug sat a slim black folder with a silver logo I recognized instantly. Harper & Cole Attorneys at Law. I knew that folder because I had delivered one exactly like it to my mother's house 3 weeks earlier after picking it up from their downtown Nashville office. She had told me it contained nothing important, just some boring paperwork about old family records. Yet there it was, sitting in the middle of Mother's Day brunch like it belonged on the table. That's when my stomach dropped. Nobody brings legal documents to a holiday meal unless they expect someone to sign something. I enlarged the picture again. My brother Ryan was holding a pen. Emily had another folder resting beside her plate. Suddenly the lock on my front door wasn't about punishing me. They hadn't locked me out to hurt my feelings. They needed me somewhere else while something happened inside that dining room. Instead of driving back and pounding on the door, I did something my family never expected me to do. I stayed quiet. For years, I had been the fixer in the Bennett family. If Mom forgot to pay property taxes, I handled them. If Ryan needed help reviewing a business contract, I stayed up half the night reading every page. When Emily bought her first condo, I spent 2 weekends helping her negotiate closing costs because I worked as a senior contract analyst and paperwork was literally my profession. Everyone joked that nothing with a signature happened without Claire checking it first. Looking back now, that joke suddenly sounded less like affection and more like a problem they needed to remove. About an hour later, I stopped by my mailbox before driving to a hotel. Mixed between grocery coupons and utility bills was a certified letter from Harper & Cole addressed to me. I hadn't expected anything from them. The envelope had been mailed 2 days earlier. I signed for it, opened it inside my car, and found only one sentence. Due to recent changes regarding the Bennett family trust, we attempted to contact you before any documents were executed. I read it twice. Family trust? Nobody had ever told me our family even had one. Then my phone rang. The caller ID didn't say Mom. It said Harper & Cole Attorneys. I answered on the second ring, expecting a mistake, but the woman's voice was calm, almost relieved that I had finally picked up. "Ms. Bennett, this is Laura Mitchell from Harper & Cole. We have been trying to reach you before today's family meeting." My family meeting. Those two words settled into my chest like ice. She explained that she couldn't discuss everything over the phone. But because my name appeared as a beneficiary and co-trustee on the Bennett Family Trust, I had the legal right to review every document that had been prepared for Mother's Day. Mother's Day. Not next week. Not next month. Today. I drove straight to their office downtown. Laura met me with a thick file already waiting on the conference table. She didn't have to say much. The documents spoke louder than anyone ever could. 6 months before he died, my grandfather had transferred our family's lake property outside Franklin, Tennessee, along with several investment accounts, into a trust. The instructions were painfully simple. Nothing could ever be sold, transferred, or refinanced unless both trustees signed the paperwork. My grandfather had appointed 2 trustees. My mother and me. I sat there staring at my own signature from 5 years earlier. I remembered signing estate papers after Grandpa's funeral. Exhausted and heartbroken, trusting my mother when she said, "It's only routine paperwork, sweetheart." I had never realized what those pages actually meant because I believed family didn't hide things from each other. Laura quietly slid another folder toward me. "This," she said, "is what they plan to sign today." Inside was a purchase agreement to sell the lake property to a development company building luxury vacation homes. The offer was worth nearly $4 million. My hands froze. That lake wasn't just valuable land. It was where Grandpa taught me to fish, where my father proposed to my mother, where every 4th of July our entire family gathered around the same old fire pit. They weren't selling property. They were selling our history. Then came the twist I never saw coming. Laura pointed to the final page. The buyers were informed this morning that both trustees would be attending. My name had already been printed beneath my mother's signature line. Someone had even forged my initials on several internal review pages. My own family hadn't simply locked me out of the house. They had expected to impersonate me. Before I could even process that betrayal, Laura's assistant rushed into the room holding a phone. "They're here," she whispered. I looked through the conference room window and saw my mother, Ryan, and Emily walking into the lobby together. None of them had any idea I was already inside waiting for them. I didn't walk into the lobby. I waited. Laura asked if I wanted security to escort them out, but I simply shook my head. "No," I said quietly. "Invite them into conference room 3. 5 minutes later the door opened. My mother stepped inside first, smiling the polished smile she always saved for lawyers. The smile disappeared the instant she saw me sitting at the table. Ryan froze behind her. Emily actually dropped the folder she had been carrying. Nobody spoke for several seconds. Laura finally broke the silence. "Mrs. Bennett, before any documents are presented, there's a matter we need to address regarding the co-trustee." My mother tried to recover immediately. Claire wasn't supposed to. She stopped herself too late. Not supposed to what? Be here? Know the truth? I slowly slid the forged pages across the table. "You forgot one thing," I said. "I've reviewed contracts for 12 years. You copied my initials, but not my handwriting." Ryan looked at my mother instead of me. Emily suddenly couldn't meet anyone's eyes. Then Laura placed the original trust agreement in the center of the table. Without Ms. Bennett's voluntary signature, she explained calmly. "This sale is legally impossible." The developer's attorney, who had just entered moments earlier, quietly gathered his paperwork. "In light of these circumstances," he said, "our clients are withdrawing their offer effective immediately." $4 million disappeared in one sentence. My brother slammed his chair backward. Do you have any idea what you just cost us? I looked directly at him. No, Ryan. Tell me what you already spent before you even owned it. The room went silent. That question landed exactly where I hoped it would. Laura opened another folder I hadn't even seen before. Inside were loan applications, construction contracts, and personal guarantees. Ryan had already borrowed millions against money he assumed would come from selling the property. Emily had signed investment papers based on that same future payout. They had divided Grandpa's money months before they legally possessed a single dollar. Then came the final twist. Laura turned toward my mother. There is one more provision your father included. She handed me the last page of the trust. I had never read this section either. If one trustee intentionally concealed trust information or attempted to bypass the other trustee through fraud, that person would immediately lose decision-making authority. The remaining trustee would receive sole authority until a probate judge ruled otherwise. My mother slowly lowered her head. She already knew that clause existed. She had simply prayed I would never discover it. 2 weeks later, the court temporarily transferred every trust decision to me while the investigation continued. My family called for days. They apologized. They blamed each other. They begged me to reconsider. I answered only once. I invited them to the lake, not for another argument, but for one condition. We would rebuild our family with complete honesty or not at all. Ryan refused to come. Emily arrived first, carrying the framed Mother's Day photo. Without saying a word, she tore it in half and threw it into the fire pit Grandpa built with his own hands. My mother walked over minutes later, placed her house keys in my palm, and whispered something I had waited my entire life to hear. I spent years trying to control this family instead of protecting it. I'm sorry. I didn't forgive her that afternoon. Some wounds deserve time, not performance. But I unlocked the cabin door and invited everyone inside. This time, nobody was left standing outside. And every Mother's Day since then, we take one family picture together. No fake captions. No hidden meetings. No locked doors. Because I learned that the strongest families aren't the ones that look perfect in photographs. They're the ones that never need to hide the truth behind them.